Ready whenever you are. Okay.
Hi, this is Patricia Maya, and you're listening to DJ DANI Show on Hamilton Radio.
Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March 24th, 2020. Welcome to the DJ DANI Show on HamiltonRadio.net stream HR2. I'm your host, DJ DANI, and I'm so excited and honored to have my guest here today. Everybody knows him from previous 80 shows, I should say. I know of No Way Out, so we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. I've seen some snippets. I don't really know that much about your character, but we'll talk about that from the movie. And I know him from being the amazing President of the United States from CORY in the House, because that was my favorite show. I was highly addicted to that show. So I'm very honored and excited to welcome John D. AQUINO here. So thank you so much, John, especially for this interview.
Hey, Danny, thank you so much for working so hard to put this together. And it's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to meeting some of your peeps.
Thank you. Well, I'm sure we're all very excited to get to know you better. And we also are going to be opening the phone line a little bit later on in the show. For anybody that wants to call in or has any questions, they definitely get that chance to speak to you one-on-one as well as myself.
Great.
So, John, let's start a little bit at the beginning first, because I know you've done so much acting, so many roles that you've started. Where do you think, what age you officially started with acting that you took it professional?
Okay, I guess I'll start
joking.
with, I couldn't hear the last.
Oh, I said versus like taking it, like professional, like not taking it seriously, like working with it for real.
Well, if you don't mind, I will start with where the idea came from, because it was a bit of a, it's, back then you were an oddball to even have this idea in your head.
Oh, totally.
I was actually telling your father, Gino, that when I was, I didn't tell him the whole story, but when I was 8 years old, my father had a pretty serious heart attack.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
And for the next year, well, he lived, thank God, but it was a traumatic time in the life of our family, of course, and he was out of work for a year, and so it sort of just became a natural thing for me to want to entertain my mom, because she had the weight of the world on her shoulders back then. And then I kept really watching. There was only 3 television channels, and back then the televisions were humongous, and they had the rabbit ear antennas, and you had to kind of hold on to them and then sometimes wear tinfoil on your head and then stick your leg up in the air to keep the frame from repeating up and down and up and down. It was insane. But I enjoyed the programming that was on television after the nightly news so much.
Okay.
And you had to be really, really good to be on television back then. And there was only 3 channels, so I just kept saying to myself, my gosh, they're having an awfully good time in there. How do I get in there?
Okay. I like that. That was a little optimistic. You wanted to be a part of that for some sort of time.
Well, it's something that as a matter of fact, I was a boring kid, because I would memorize the TV guide, which was the only way you knew what was going to be on television that week.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell you any show, what time, what channel, and who was in it. I could even tell you the fall lineup. I knew everything that was going to be on. And then I just kind of projected myself into the television. It was kind of surreal to think that, you could be a kid and you can have a dream, and then you just have to walk directly towards your goal without getting too sidetracked, and there it was. And so I was very fortunate to be able to have that career and to get to Hollywood. And it takes a lot of people to do it. It takes great teachers along the way.
Mm-hmm. Acting classes, as we'll talk about later, for yourself as well.
That's right.
And just maybe your foot in the door,
agent,
right?
Managers, things like that.
Like getting your foot in the door.
Oh, yeah. I've got stories. I've got stories.
Well, I'm definitely here if you want to share any of them. I'm sure we'd all be extremely excited to get to know you better. But within your acting, so you said, what was the show that used to play after the news? Like an idea of something you wanted to be a part of.
Oh, there's so many. Gosh, it's a good question though. So one thing that's coming to mind right now was uh, on Sunday nights there was the Ed Sullivan Show,
Okay,
and the Ed
I know that.
Sullivan. If you were on the Ed Sullivan Show, you were going to be famous. And but so when the Beatles came to America, I can remember we were playing stickball in the streets of Queens, where I was in Middle Village, and my mother would run to the door and say, "Come on in, the Beatles are on Ed Sullivan." And we'd all run in and we'd watch it. But then afterwards, I think it would go right into Bonanza, which was a Western. And
Okay.
ironically, my first show in Hollywood was a Western, was my first television show. So yeah, whatever. I mean, all those shows were just fantastic. I'll probably get the years all wrong, but in my time in New York, I can remember, Journey to the Center of the Earth, I think, was one of them. Because shows like I Dream of Jeannie and those classics,
Barbara Eden.
they were,
Yes.
yeah, they were more later on after this early period. So we're talking the late 60s and then early 70s.
Was that also like Green Acres? Or is that further back?
I think Green Acres probably is early 70s. I'm thinking MASH for sure.
Okay, I know of MASH.
I'll tell you a show that had a big impact on me was All in the Family.
Okay. I think my parents watched that show.
All in the Family was just genius. It was a sitcom, but it was the first time they started to tackle serious issues in a sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
And so they disarmed you with the amazing joy and the great writing on the show. And then all of a sudden they hit you with a sledgehammer with something that was socially relevant at the times, like race relations, equal rights.
Yes.
There was as a matter of fact, a show called The Jeffersons spawned off that show.
Was that Three's Company also? Because I like Three's Company.
No, I don't think Three's Company came from that. But, you're right that so many of these shows splintered off and became something else. So The Jeffersons, for sure, came out of All in the Family. And anyway, it was that show was so powerful that I'm trying to remember the producer's name now. I saw him speak not long ago. I can't remember offhand right now, but I'll get it.
It's okay.
Anyway,
it's not that I put you on the spot or anything.
That's all right.
But it's really exciting to get to know a little bit of what you wanted to be a part of when you were younger versus, where you are now and where you feel like your inspiration came from.
Yeah, well, they were, again, everybody was so great on television that you didn't have to look too far for inspiration. That was Norman Lear, and he recently did another version in fact, I think he did a live version with Woody Harrelson of All in the Family that was only on last year. Okay. And Norman Lear, by the way, is probably 92 years old now and still working.
Him. God bless.
He's amazing. Amazing.
That's amazing. It really is. So, John, getting back a little bit into your acting from your first project.
My first project. Okay, so all right, let me give you a little bit of a story.
Okay. I'm here for that.
Cut me off anytime because these stories, unfortunately, take a little long to tell. But I was working at a bar as a bartender at Jaime's Seafood Restaurant on Pico Boulevard.
Okay.
And I was John at the bar as a friend of mine. I was like a line out of a Billy Joel song. And I smelled like seafood and alcohol by the time I would leave every night. And I can remember just going out, throwing garbage away by the dumpster and getting on my knees next to the dumpster and looking up at the sky and praying and saying, God, soon, please, because I was in LA.
Yeah.
And this was one of my first jobs. Well, lo and behold, it's the opening night of the 1984 Olympics, and I'm at the bar, and I'm having a great time because the regulars are in, and I'm entertaining everybody, and I'm making drinks not only for the people at the bar, but the people at the tables. And this little guy walks in, and there used to be an actor named George Burns. So if you think of George Burns, you have what he looks like. And he sits at the end of my bar with this beautiful young gal, and he keeps waving me down, but I'm so busy. And I finally get down to him, and I go, "Can I help you?" And he says, "Yeah, are you an actor?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm an actor." And I pointed to everybody around me. I said, "He's an actor, she's an actor, the busboys are actors, and so are the cooks. Would you like a drink?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Okay." And I went back to work. He calls me down about 15, 20 minutes later, and he says, "Are you any good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." I mean, I was already trained. I had already spent time with Burt Reynolds and all these greats down at the Burt Reynolds Theater. I said, "I'm good. Coca-Cola?" He said, "No." He calls me back down about 20 minutes later. And I said, "Shrimp cocktail?" And he says, "No." He hands me his business card, basically, and he gets up. And at the time, it said Sam Weisbord, the chairman of the board of the William Morris Agency.
Oh.
Beverly Hills, New York, Paris, Miami, Rome. And he says, "Will you call me?" And I said, "Are you this guy?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, I guess I'll call you." And that was it. I mean, literally within a month, I was brought into that agency. And then within about another, I'm going to say only 2 months later, I was lucky enough to book my first television series, which is pretty quick. And how it happened was I had a great teacher named Charles Nelson Riley, who was also very popular. And I don't know if your listeners will know, but their parents or their grandparents will remember Charles because he was one of the most famous people on television in the 1970s. He was a comedian and probably the funniest guy in Hollywood that you could ever meet. But Charles became my master teacher. So anyway, when an audition came in from William Morris, and it was for a character named Vargas de la Cosa, an Argentine gaucho with expertise in bolos and knives. Okay. And I said, "Well, that sounds exactly like me." And so I took on this accent, and it's a long story. I'd hate to go into the whole thing. But suffice to say that I made them think I was this guy. And I went in with the accent all the way through the audition. And finally, I was at ABC, and they had this tiered theater seating in this big room where they're all looking at you. And they didn't have cell phones, but they had phones with red lights on them because they never rang. But this way, they would know if they were getting a call. And I went in, and I pretended to be this guy. I lied to them. I told them I was from Cuba, that I was part Mexican, part Italian. I made up every story in the book.
Okay.
And I had this heavy accent. And finally, at the end of this audition, the director turns to me and says, "I made them think my name was Juan." And so he said, "Juan, we're a little worried that the people in the Midwest aren't going to be able to understand your accent.
Okay.
Can you can you lighten your accent a little bit?" And then I looked around the room, and that was a highly politically incorrect thing to ask of someone who's from a different country.
Yeah.
And so I just looked at him. I looked at everybody, and I said, "Well, just exactly how far would you like me to take it down?" Just with my regular voice. And that was the first time they'd heard my regular voice in the entire audition process.
Did they like it? Or they preferred?
Well, I didn't know if they were going to throw me out.
Oh, okay.
And then the guy who was executive producer, who eventually became a dear friend of mine, Tom Green, he started laughing, and he said, "Now do it in Yiddish." and I got that part. And that was my first part in Hollywood.
Oh, my goodness gracious. And that role was?
Vargas de la Cosa. He was a gunsmith. And this took place in the Wild West. Meg Ryan, it was her first primetime show as well. The actress Meg Ryan from When Harry Met Sally.
Okay. Her name sounded familiar. I wasn't sure what movie she was from. I think Harry Met
Yeah,
Sally is a movie.
Harry Met Sally is probably her most famous one.
Famous movie that everybody would know who she is.
And Lost in Seattle, or what is it? Sleepless in Seattle. Sleepless in Seattle.
So
your mom will know these movies.
Yeah, no, my parents would. And Ruben probably will too. Everyone back there would totally understand what you're talking about.
Oh, thank God Ruben's over 21. I really appreciate that, Ruben. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. I was going to say, through the roles and the auditions that you had to deal with, did you soon then get a manager? Or how did you book other roles?
So I got that the number one agency on the planet was a gift from God when that man came to my bar that night.
Yep.
And then, yes, I got a manager not long after, and I had a great agent who is still an agent. His name is Jeff Witches. And he still is thriving, has great clients. Yeah, and so it was a wonderful and busy time for me.
But a very exciting one. Maybe, was it more of like the excitement was something that maybe you weren't used to? Because I know you were doing more like acting roles and stuff. Maybe you weren't like...
Well, I always knew that would be part of it, right? And
yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm a people person anyway. I love people, and so I'm in the craft of the art of people, basically acting, and so it was all a good fit for me. I enjoyed it tremendously.
Well, you were born and raised in Brooklyn, correct?
Yeah, I was from the old neighborhood. I'm from an area where people knew each other. People looked out for each other. I mean, we're in a period right now where people hopefully will be looking out for each other. And I think it's something that most people have forgotten over the course of time. If you have an elderly person living next door to you, you knock on their door and you see how they're doing.
Make sure they have all their necessities, toilet paper, of course.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. I also feel like a little bit with the situation, well, for my family, because some of them, some of them are laid off or some of them are still getting paid, from the state or the town. I feel like we can also have more family time versus communication. Because when you're on your phone, you're not really acknowledging everyone around you. But that's just my point on it. I'm not trying to push it out there because other people have they have kids and they can't take care of them and all that stuff. I understand. But for my situation, I feel like that it's another chance to just spend time with family and enjoy who's around you.
It takes a war sometimes to bring families together, or it takes a depression. It's an unfortunate thing that we don't slow down otherwise. But yeah, I can tell you right now, I've spent more time with my family in the last week to 9 days now than I have in some time. You got to make this time.
Yeah, you got to give them the time. But it also, for yourself, from you doing acting and stuff, is it a break for you for right now until, you're allowed to go out again? Or what do you take on it?
Yeah, it will be a break. But I also, because I have a school, I'm also teaching a lot. When I got on an airplane and flew to Orlando last Wednesday, and when I got off the plane, the world kind of changed. And I'm not quite sure I would have gotten on the plane had I heard all the information that I heard after landing.
Yeah.
But I was able to see some family down in South Florida, which is important to me. And then I taught, a wonderful group of people in Miami, Florida, at a studio called The Actory. So if you're down in Miami and you're looking for a place to learn and to work out, there's CJ and Carlos are at The Actory down there, and that's a great place. I teach in Atlanta sometimes, and my friend Eric Lingval owns Catapult Acting Studio there.
Okay, so you help? Do you help with that when you go there, or you do your classes?
We're all partners at this point. We help each other. They have phenomenal clients, and if anything, what we will tend to do is to help maybe facilitate a path through Los Angeles for the professionally minded young actor. And we, by the way, I'm segueing here, but we also have online classes for our students who are maybe away from the big cities and still want to dive in. As a matter of fact, running concurrently with this program right now, I have one of my associates taking over my Tuesday class, which is a popular class. And
yes, for today. I'm so sorry about that.
oh, don't worry about it. They understand that this is important as well. And but that's a great group. And, you know, in a time like this, they're able to see each other. As a matter of fact, we're throwing some free classes on for our students as well, different things. But this Friday, they will have, for the students, they will have an opportunity to all perform in sort of a Friday, you know, chill cafe type of fun cafe showcase that we'll do on Zoom.us. And I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be great.
Oh, that's nice. You guys use Zoom definitely to help, you know, socialize and get the class out there for everyone tuning in.
Well, you know, Danny, you're young, and to stay in touch with your friends, it's nice to see their faces. It's comforting, especially during a time like this, right?
I recently just got into Zoom with one of my friends, but we've been watching scary movies on it because we can't do Netflix party. But it's a start and everything. It's actually pretty cool. Once I get to use it more, then I could do interviews with Zoom. But right now we use Skype for that situation.
Okay. So what do you want to know?
I want to know if you can talk a little bit about No Way Out for everybody that's tuning in, getting a better idea of. I'm sure a lot of people know that movie.
Well, I'm happy you know about it. Let me explain. There is a story there. When I got the job, I thought I was getting the role that I auditioned for.
Okay.
And when the script arrived at my door, it was something different. It was a different role, and I was a bit disappointed because I liked the other role better. And so then I was only supposed to shoot one day in Long Beach, California,
Mm-hmm.
and they were going to make it look like the Philippines. And so I went in and I went to the makeup trailer, and they quickly let me know that I was not that important, and I needed to go sit on the floor in the corner of the makeup trailer.
Okay.
Because Kevin Costner was about to walk in and get his makeup on.
Oh, okay. So he was more important, I'm guessing.
Kevin and Mel Gibson at the time were probably the two most important young male actors who were rising up the ladder in Hollywood. And it was down to just the two of them for every movie with a leading role for a man. Anyway, Kevin came in and he kind of looks at me in the corner. I don't think he realized that I was the guy he was going to be in the scene with. And I'm just sitting there on the floor, and then he's looking in the mirror straight ahead. And then finally, I could think he realizes it. Oh, that's the guy I'm going to be working with. So he says, "Hey," and then he goes, "What do you think of the scene?" And I never thought he was going to ask me, "What do I think of the scene?" And so people that know me know that I'll probably speak my truth in a situation like that.
Okay.
But I looked at him and I said, "Honestly?" And when I said honestly, every technician cutting hair or doing makeup stopped what they were doing and just snapped their head in my direction like, "Are you out of your mind?"
Like, don't be true, or I understand.
And so, he kind of leaned back in his chair. He smiled and he looked at me and he said, "Yeah." And I said, "I honestly don't think that much of it." And you could hear a pin drop in the makeup trailer.
I was going to say, okay. Did he feel hurt by it? Like, did you see anything on his face? Embarrassed?
Well, he just kind of just nodded his head up and down, and he went, "Oh," said, "What do you think would make it better?" And I looked at him with youthful eyes, and I said, "Honestly?" And we left the trailer, and we left together. I don't remember how that worked out, but we left together. And he goes, "Where's your trailer?" And I had a tiny little trailer compared to his huge RV wagon, whatever he had. And I started pointing in a direction. He goes, "Come on, let's go." I said, "Where are we going?" He goes, "You're going to rewrite the scene."
Oh, okay.
And
he gave you credit?
No, I mean, you understand, I'm about to be fired, basically, is what I'm thinking.
Oh, okay.
Because you can't be a young actor and go on set and no, that was insane. And I'm like, oh God, he's setting me up to be fired at this point. But he followed me into the trailer, and I have to say, he wanted me to put it into my words. And what I learned about Kevin is that when he produced and directed Dances with Wolves, the script was never right enough for him, and he kept sending it back to the writer. He goes, "Not ready, not ready." Well, I think the writer and the movie won the Academy Award. And Kevin is that way. He knows it's more about the journey and the process in getting there. So in a way, I was supposed to be his very best friend in the movie, two guys already in the service together. And he knew it was more important for us to have a relationship like we knew each other. So I'm not so sure if it was what we came up with in the trailer. And then he walks out and he goes, "Follow me." And I'm like, "Where are we going now?" I said, "Are we going to show it to the director?" And he goes, "Hell no, we're going to do this thing and then see what he thinks about it." So literally the director was just shaking his head, but it turned out well because by the time, and Kevin was really smart, he knew that by the time that was completed, we were going to have a relationship. It was going to look like we knew each other. And that's what we got. And it turned out to be a magical day on set. At the end of the day, Kevin invites me to go over to the studio and watch the footage from yesterday, the day before. And then he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, and I'm trying to get some scenes put back in the movie, and your character is in them. But they shoot in New Zealand. Would you have any interest in going down to New Zealand with us?" And I'm like, I could do that. So after one day, I had the magical day where I'm hanging with the star and hanging with the director at the end of that day. And then I'm flying to New Zealand within a matter of weeks. And then, unfortunately, the movie, it was the last scenes shot. I really think that had those scenes been put earlier in the movie because they worked so well, more scenes would have been written.
How can you describe what your character did or who your character was? For people who haven't seen it.
Kevin is the romantic and intelligent heartthrob of the movie. He's turns out to be, I think he's CIA. He's working for the government in some form or fashion. But we discover that there is a traitor amongst us, if you will. And then the movie is all about trying to figure out who is the traitor, if you will. And the great Gene Hackman, the actor Gene Hackman, is also in the movie. I didn't get to work with him directly, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
But it's a really good movie, and I'm the buddy. I'm actually meant to bring the lightheartedness to the film.
But you did that, right? Like you enjoyed your role, and you got to get to know Kevin and vibe with everyone. And somehow you thought still in the back of your head you were going to get fired, but you didn't. You proved to them, when you speak the truth, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad.
Yeah, and there are times when I've been fired for the same thing, and that happens. I think that happens you're going to get fired. If you're an actor in Hollywood, you're probably going to get released or fired for reasons that may be absolutely beyond your control at some point in your career.
Is it just when you feel like you speak out when you shouldn't?
Yeah, well, look,
others.
It's a choice that I made because I think nothing good ever happened to me in Hollywood without risking something. But with risk comes a little bit of danger at times, if you will. But I believe, as an actor, I believe in risk. You have to risk everything within the role.
Yeah.
And then if there are people that want to hear your point of view, you have to always honor the writers and honor the team, the artistic team. But if you think you can offer something to make the show better, I still think that that's what actors should do. They should bring their best ideas, and then if production wants to employ them into the script, great. If not, then they can say no.
Just to see if they have a better idea of it or something in their liking, depending on, the situation. Or for anyone that's also tuning in, John, I mean, the role that we're going to talk about shortly, obviously, Mr. President, when you take on a role and you get the initiative and you enjoy and have fun, behind the scenes and get to know the cast for any role that you've done, do you feel like that also helps you import your role?
Yeah, well, the famous show Seinfeld, the first season did not take off. I think it was Brandon Tartikoff who was running NBC, and he liked the show, and he said he's gonna save it because another network would have canceled it. Mm-hmm. It takes a group of. Pardon me, my dog is now sleeping and snoring down here.
It's okay. Oh my God, is that a girl or boy?
The boy is now 17 years old. Oh. My boy. But
he's adorable. It's okay. Don't wake him up. He's sleeping.
So, yeah, no, the ideal is that you become a family with your ensemble. It doesn't always happen.
Yes.
But the ideal is that happens. And normally, and I've been fortunate to work with some wonderful executive producers, it's normally the star of the show and the executive producers of the show that set the tone and make it a joyful experience if they're doing the right job.
Well, I think that's very fun, for anyone that's getting into the industry and maybe they didn't know exactly how to get into a role. But if you get to know all castmates and you just feel like you have a connection, I have a feeling that sometimes that works, but it also takes a lot more than that, right? You have to practice your acting and be on point with everything.
Yeah, acting is a strange craft, and I will just say that when I was starting out, I wanted to rehearse a lot with whoever was there, and I would always be shocked if someone said, "No, I don't want to rehearse, man." But what I've discovered is it's okay if they don't want to rehearse. I mean, yeah, I'd like to play and find some things, but they're thinking, "No, I want it to be fresh when we go on camera." So now I understand their point of view a lot better. I think for an actor, you have to know that you can't predetermine your performance. You can prepare for an unfolding of events to occur. Like you get the script, you have the map. But if it was a map from New York to Los Angeles, everybody gets the same map. But how you get there is your business. So we call that painting the white of the page, because if you look at the writing in a script, it only consumes about 5 or 10% of the page maximum.
Very true. Or a monologue, right?
It could be a monologue, but on television and film, we don't do too many monologues because it's too long. So typically, you're going to have. I'll see if I have any script here, but you're going to have script that's rather sparse. And I'll share with your viewers, for those who can see, some of the...
Everybody can see you.
Oh, everybody can see me. Hi, guys. Let's assume, and by the way, a script can cost a tremendous amount of money because, you're going to pay a writer for a $100 million movie. I'm assuming, somewhere between 3 and 5 and maybe more. If it's a $200 million movie, it could go way past that. But the premise was, one of the first lessons I ever got was, if you turn the page over and it looks like a canvas, like a white canvas, assuming you can't look through that, you can't see any of the lines through the page.
No, you can't.
We always ask, what's the percentage of white on the canvas? And if it's all white, eventually someone says 100%. When I turn it over, you see that there's a lot of white on that page. And if I bring it closer to camera, there's a lot of white even inside the letters, like the letter O or P or D.
Yeah.
And there's white in between the letters, in between the words, and in between the lines.
I see that.
If we were to compress the black ink on this page into a solid little black box in the corner. The reality is that there's only about 5% of black ink on that page. In other words, the writers, who are, by the way, incredibly bright people, and nothing in Hollywood can happen without them, but the writers are still only providing 5% of that page, which leaves 95% of the canvas white. When I got that lesson, I thought, my mind kind of went, and I thought,
yeah, it's mind blown, right?
How can I, what can I do to paint 95% of the canvas? If you were to go to a great museum or a great gallery and see a painting and it was only painted 5% of the canvas, would you feel like you were getting your money's worth?
No.
And so sometimes I'll do this with the students. I'll hold up a script and I'll get them to know that the script could have cost $5 or $10 million to create. Because even if it's no good, if the studio doesn't like it after the first 2 or 3 drafts, they're going to get other writers to punch it up. It's going to cost a lot of money. So I'll say to the students, sometimes you can get a page that might cost $100,000, maybe $200,000 a page at times. It could be ridiculous. And so I'd look at them and I'll say, do you agree that that's a lot of money? And they'll go, yeah. And I go, do you agree that that's a valuable piece of paper? And then they'll say, oh, yeah. And then I'll go,
and that means you crumbling, I mean.
I'll say to them, the audience doesn't care. They don't care about those words on the page. They only care about how the character feels, what the character wants, what the character needs, what the character fears.
The improvising? Though that.
No, they only care about the human aspects of the story. And nobody wants to see your words, with all respect to the writers. If the audience is thinking about the words on the page, then we've lost them in some fashion.
Okay, well, I will say with some shows, especially Cory in the House, there's times where I want to learn what the next word is. So I have to replay that scene over and over again because I want to be the one that reenacts it, in my living room or something.
What's that mean that you want to know what the next word is? I don't understand.
Okay, so for instance, with one of your lines or something you've done with Sophie Madison Pettis on Cory in the House. Say there was, I'm trying to think of a quick line or something that you said. Just something that was easy to reenact where, like, say my sister learned it and showed me Sophia or something that you say. I want to reenact the scene, like, where people want to do it with movies and stuff. You want to learn the one scene or that show, that episode.
Mm-hmm.
I want to learn it because maybe there's like a life lesson in it. Maybe I like the way it makes me feel. It's something that I want to learn. So me watching you, on the show and everything that you've done, I want to learn that episode. Does that make more sense?
No, it's a compliment. But it normally means that the actors and the writers and the production team did something that inspired you.
Of course.
And you want to go into the world,
That show inspired me.
How so?
I feel like just watching it, it was just pretty cool. It felt like it was, a spin-off of That's a Raven because Kyle Massey was in it when he played Cory, in That's a Raven. So him and his father, Rondell Sheridan, Mr. Baxter, he gets the job and he moves to the White House and then, you're the president. And it's just, I love it. I think some of the life lessons that you gave in the show, even if it was just to your daughter or the ways, that everybody was getting to know each other and they had to watch, like the episode with Dwayne Johnson, you didn't want anyone to do anything to ambush him. But then, Cory created the Master Maxer, 5000, the stretcher. So there was just things where everything went wrong. Or there was the episode when one of the prime ministers had Russia. You gave him the jacket. Yeah, I know Michelle. So it was something fun to watch. Coming home from school, I think when Cory in the House was on, I think I would watch that versus any other Disney Channel show because I became hooked on it. And I love the interaction with everyone. Everyone seemed so nice, and I liked the way Mina was with Jason Dolly's character. It was just a fun show to watch.
I ran into Jason Dolly not long ago. He's doing great.
That's awesome. It's really good to know.
Yeah, it's amazing. And now Madison, such a beautiful young lady, and
is she like in her 20s now?
I think she's probably at least maybe if she's in college, she's probably a sophomore in college, maybe around 20
or 19, something like that. Because I know she was she was little when you guys started, right? Was she in her like
She was 8 years old. When you see her in those early episodes, she was 8 years old and brilliant.
Yes.
And by the way, for the kids wondering how, thinking it's all glamour, these people like Madison would show up. All the kids would show up at 7:30 a.m. and go to school on set. And at 9 a.m., they had to show up on set and they had to know their lines. Where the adults wouldn't know their lines, the kids not only went to school, but then they also had to know their lines. So it's hard work. And then at night, it's fun to go to red carpet events, but it's also tiring. And then you still have to study, and you still have to keep your school up, and you still have to get up in the morning.
Yeah, because that affects everything, right? Like, what happens if somebody's level GPA or, they got like a C or something on a test? I mean, I don't know if they've ever done, but I mean, would that have affected the show or the shooting of the show too?
I don't know. Not on our show. It certainly didn't. I'm sure there's been a case like that. But and then there's some talkings too. So we have a private school that we work with. In fact, I do a camp every summer called Camp Hollywood. It's our main event. And I see something on the screen there. I'm assuming you know what that is, though.
What do you see?
Oh, I see like the editor title window just popped up. I don't know what.
I think they're getting ready to enter the phone number because we're going to take callers for you shortly.
Oh, yeah.
So they might enter the number for everyone that's tuning in. I gave my dad a list of things I wanted done during the show, so it seems more professional.
Let's give a big shout out to Ruben and Gino, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Woo-hoo. They do so much back there. So we're actually going to be also opening the phone line for Mr. John. If anybody has any questions or comments or anything that they would like to say, anything that they're desiring to tell him, anything that their heart desires. The phone number is 609-807-2492. Phone lines are open, again, for anyone. Anything you want to say, any question, have fun with it, right? You want to hear maybe some jokes?
Well, I also want to hear from if there's some young people listening, if there's anybody who's interested in acting, if they have any questions. And also, I'll teach adults around the country as well. I was in Cleveland last month, and there was a 70-year-old man who was a judge. He had just retired from the bench after 30 years, and it was still in his heart to do some acting and to learn acting, and I was really impressed with that man. Well, and sometimes that'll happen when I travel around the country. I'll meet people that are older, and they've already lived their lives, have already had careers, and they still love it.
I was going to say, actually, another person that I recently just had on my show about 2 weeks ago, March 10th, I had another Disney Channel star. I had the father from Sweet Life, Zack and Cody, Robert Torti.
Oh, yeah. That's excellent.
Yeah, and he was amazing just like you are. He does actually realting on the side now from his acting. He's a realtor in Vegas.
Oh, that's great.
So he's selling houses and everything. But, I mean, it's a side gig. It's something that helps bring money in, and who doesn't want to buy a house from Zack and Cody's dad? Like, come on. He even wants to get his marriage license or his priest license, he said, for somebody that wants to get married by him. So,
you got to, it doesn't mean you can reinvent yourself your entire life. It's wonderful.
Now, while we're still, because we have the phone lines open for anyone that still wants to call in, I wanted to ask you if there's your favorite lines from Mr. President that you remember in the show. I told Paige this too. I don't know if she told you. I was kind of throwing you a little bit off, but I wanted to know because I know when I spoke with you first on the phone, you blew me away. So
Well, I mean, of course, I had the classic line that I guess I can talk about. My teachers, in that exercise that I showed you a little bit earlier about looking on the white of the page,
Yes.
I went upstairs with the audition material into my office, and I started working it on my feet, and I started to realize what kind of guy wants to become the president of the United States. Somebody who likes looking at himself in a camera. Somebody who likes the sound of his own voice. Somebody who likes to help people and serve. And all of a sudden, this kind of funny, goofy character started to come to life. And I found something on the white of the page where the line was, "Hi, I'm the President of the United States." That was the line. And I thought, well, wait a minute. I'm talking to these people in the White House. What if he has these delusions of grandeur? And so I did something. It started to evolve where I said the beginning of the line, "Hi, and then all of a sudden I snapped this way, almost as if I was looking into the teleprompter, and I took a pose and I dropped my voice and said, "Hi, I'm the President of the United States." Very self-important, I guess it would be the right word. And it was silly and goofy and dumb, and I thought, no, what the hell, I'll keep it in. And so I brought it in. I did about 2 or 3 other things that they liked. And it was kind of interesting because the producers, when I went to Disney, they had me come on over and do it for the network. Everything that I thought they really, really liked, there was 4 primary things. One of them was that thing about the President of the United States. One of the producers, right after I did a warm-up rehearsal with him, he said, "Hey, you know that thing you do, all those things?" He goes, "Yeah, cut them for now, and then come in and do the audition." And I thought, cut them? And then so I went in and I did the audition. And then Disney, after I left the room, they turned to him and said, "I thought you said he was funny." And so he comes out to the lobby and he says to me, "Hey, remember those 4 things I told you to cut?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Put them back in and come on back in."
Okay.
So I put them back in. I went in and they liked it, and I got the job. The President of the United States gag, just that goofy way that I was reciting that, they put that in the first episode. Then they put it in the second episode, and then other characters started to mimic it. And then somewhere early on, they asked me to go on a show called Hannah Montana.
Yes. Yep.
And do my role there with Madison. And
Frances
when I did
Collier.
that funny, goofy line, what's that?
With Frances Collier, who played Roxy. She's actually on my show May 5th.
Yay. Say hello for me.
I will.
When I did my line on that show, Miley Cyrus mimicked it. And then, of course, she was becoming a juggernaut performer. You know, she was early on. But
yeah,
once I did on that show, it was golden. And then the kids all around the country, and I mean all around the world, because when I would travel, I can remember leaving a concentration camp. I went to this concentration camp in Czechoslovakia as a matter of consciousness, just to be able to see something historical and understand the implications and the horror of it, if you will. And I went with my wife and another couple. And we were going through a tunnel on the way out, and it was obviously a very heavy-hearted experience. And as I'm going out, there's this dark-skinned boy and a boy that looks kind of Middle Eastern to me, and they're coming past me. And the dark-skinned boy gets about 10 feet past me and all of a sudden spins around and says, "I know you! The President CORY in the house! Say your line."
That's creepy.
I can't even describe what that moment was like. And these guys follow me out. There were 2 kids. One was from war-torn Somalia. The other was from war-torn Iraq.
Oh.
And their parents must have had enough money to get them to Amsterdam. And they were on a school trip. And I got to know these boys. And it was really amazing to have that type of, Disney can brand you in such a way that you can make connections with human beings around the world, and it has an impact. It was really great.
But you definitely brand yourself when you take on the role. You know, you bring personality to that role, which we all love.
That's an actor's job. You know, that's what we have to do. We have to inhabit the character, and then become it. Then you really kind of just blend it with aspects of yourself, of course.
Do you feel like, though, a little bit, because we're going to talk about shortly in a minute about your acting class and everything, but I wanted to know a little bit before. Somebody's asking if you can wish them a happy birthday. Their name is Ashley Burwash.
Is it their birthday today?
I'm guessing they said that it'd be awesome if they can wish them a happy birthday. They messaged.
All right. Well, Ashley, first of all, I want to wish you a very happy birthday. And I know that these are crazy times to celebrate your birthday. I'll have one coming up in April in a few weeks, and we'll see where the world is.
Oh, boy.
But I want to wish you a happy birthday, and make sure you take care of yourself, and make sure you enjoy the moment, and you're alive. And sometimes it's just amazing to be alive during interesting times in the world. So anyway, happy birthday to you, Ashley.
She said thank you, but it's tomorrow, but she's still happy.
Yay! To ask her if she wants me to call her tomorrow. Just kidding. All right.
Well, she could call in. Ashley can call in if you want to talk to John. Wish you it over it on the phone. He could wish it to you as one of his characters. Come on, that would be pretty fun.
Can you ask her how old she's going to be?
How old are you going to be, Ashley? Just waiting for her response. But I wanted to ask you, with you being on Cory in the House, were you close with everyone? Was it easy for you to socialize, get to know everyone, have a good feel? Because it looked like that so well on the screen. Like you guys looked like you were like brothers, and then your daughter was Madison. Like it was just an awesome family, in my opinion.
Yes, we were close, and it's just hard sometimes to keep all those relationships. I'm close with Rondell Sheridan because Rondell actually
Victor Baxter.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's pretty awesome. He helps us out in the summertime when he has time. He's usually on the road as a stand-up comedian when he's not acting.
Okay. I thought he was going to get into that. He's funny.
Oh, he's phenomenal. Well, he was already a stand-up comedian. Great guy, and he's helped out our school, growing our school. He's been one of our directors. So if you go to johndaquino.net and you go down on the homepage, you will see, click on the Vimeo movies, and you'll see some movies that Rondell directed.
Oh, I definitely will. I think that's what you linked me to earlier on my email.
I think actually that is a sizzle reel we connected you to, just of last year's.
Oh, okay. Ashley said she's going to call in, so we're just waiting for her call. She said she's going to phone in, so give her a second.
Brave? She got brave, huh?
She got brave. At least you're getting one call, and I'm glad, because you deserve that, definitely. But I feel like that's really awesome, though, that you're still close at Rondell. So with everyone, then you were close. When on set.
Yeah. I mean, with Madison, of course, because she was my daughter. And, the kids after that, they all, Jason Dolly right away went to another show not long after that. But they're kids, and they were on their way.
I think that was Good Luck Charlie.
Yes. And
I know I'm a Disney Channel.
Lisa Arch, I stay in touch with periodically. And,
I was trying to get her on my show because I had her as a friend, and I was like, I know you from Hannah Montana. She was the person that did the pimple popping, like the paparazzi. Like the one that was taking the pictures on the side. And then I saw her on Cory in the House, and I was like, okay, I know this person. So I got really, excited.
Ironically, there's a lady named Sandy Campanella, and Sandy played my wife. There was only one episode where she appeared, and I see her periodically because her husband is one of the headmasters at my daughter's school. So it's nice to see.
I think we might have a phone call.
Okay.
We have a phone call? Okay.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the DJ DANI show. May I ask what your first name is?
Hi, Danny. It's Ashley.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you so much for calling in. You want to speak to John?
No problem. Hello.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ashley. Happy birthday to you.
You just got serenaded by John.
Well, thank you so much. I just gotta say, I enjoyed you on Cory in the House. I enjoyed you and so many other movies. I just really enjoyed. Thank you so much. That made my dream come true.
Hey, can you tell me where you're from? What city?
Yeah, I live in Vancouver, British Columbia, in Canada.
Oh my gosh, I love Vancouver.
I live downtown, right downtown. It's very hectic here right now, so.
I bet. Yeah, because I know you have a big Asian influence there as well, and
yeah, we do, and unfortunately, Vancouver's going to be on lockdown in a few days or so here. So, and they're going to be fining anybody who goes out.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, you know, I might have relatives in Italy. By the way, one of my first shows I ever did was 21 Jump Street, and that was in Vancouver.
Johnny Depp.
I remember that. I actually was called to go on that movie, but unfortunately I had other movies I was in, so.
I'm sorry, you were in some movies, did you say?
Yeah, I've been in, I was in Zack and Cody when I was a kid, and I was supposed to do Cory in the House when I was younger, and then I
didn't know this.
A couple of shows here in Vancouver, The Flash and Supergirl. Have you heard of them?
Of course.
Yeah,
Nice.
so I've been in a couple shows here and there, so.
So you're an actor?
Yes, I am an actor.
Oh, that's great. Well, it's a pleasure to
Yeah,
speak with you.
no, but this was amazing. Thank you so much for letting me come on and say hi. I was so excited.
Hey, it's really kind of you, and I wish you all the very best in Vancouver, okay?
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for saying to me. It was great talking to you, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, son. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Ashley.
Danny.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ashley.
Okay, bye.
I did not know that she was an actor.
And she's a friend of yours?
She's one of like a one I talk to on Facebook from time to time.
Yeah.
And she listens and tunes into my shows. So she's definitely a viewer and a great person.
We're gonna have to Ashley back.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder from Cory in the House who she was supposed to play. Was she supposed to play Madison before Madison got it? Sophia? She might have been Drew's second daughter. All right, so at this time, real quick, we're gonna do Cat of the Week, real quick, because I have Cheez-It, the one cat I'm gonna mention today, and we have pictures we're gonna show, and then we'll get back to you and we'll talk about Paige when I come back.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Doc G, Cat of the Week. Okay. Doc G? Okay. Technical difficulties. Sorry for dead air. I'm just waiting on something to play real quick.
No problem.
Doc G?
This is Train, and a new segment on the DJ Danny Show is Cats of the Week. 'Cause I was born in the wild,
on Puppy Kitty New York City Cat of the Week, today, March 24th, we have Cheez-It. Cheez-It was found in New Jersey trying to get into somebody's house along with his siblings. He is shy at first, but he does warm up. Once he's comfortable, he likes to hang out with you, and he loves for you to pet him. He is still young at heart, so he doesn't stay long until he is off exploring or playing. He loves toys that jingle, and he'll chase and throw it around the house. His favorite thing is to eat. He gets very affectionate during feeding time. Cheez-It is in a home right now with a kid, with a medium-sized dog, and another cat. He is just fine with them. If you have patience to allow Cheez-It the time to blossom, please apply today. He's about 9 months old. If anyone is interested in Cheez-It, I have pictures down here, right here, that are showing of him. He's 9 months old. You guys can go to puppykittynewyorkcity.com, www.puppykittynYcity.org. Again, we are helping with transportation, adoptions, and fostering for Cheez-It. Thank you. All right, John, back to you. I always wanted to say that. I feel like a newscaster now. So... I think we should take this time a little bit, before we get close to starting to end the show. I wanted you to talk more about your classes and everything you do. So first of all, from all the acting experience that you had, where do you feel like you wanted to start to give to someone else?
Wait, repeat that question. How what I recommend for them?
Yeah, so for instance, everything that you've done, all your acting experiences and classes, where then down the line did you feel like, I want to open up this class to others to join, to get a part of it?
Well, my teacher was Charles Nelson Riley, so most of us became teachers because of our phenomenal teacher that we had.
Okay.
And we were quite inspired. I was teaching adults primarily until around the time of I had just started thinking about working with young people, and then CORY in the House came along, and then that opened up the whole kid market for us, and it was a good fit for me. I love working with young people because they're not so fixed in their positions, and they're still open to learning. We have a great time. I still have the pleasure of working with adults as well, and of course that's always great. But the kids' school took off, and we've had a lot of good success. There's some kids that are pretty well known now, but I think overall we're proud of all of our kids, and everybody's on a journey. And some might be famous now, and some might be famous in 5 or 10 years. There's actually a show called All That the kids are watching on Nickelodeon.
Okay, this is the remake, correct? Because I've seen
remake.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 of the girls, one of them's named Maddie Whitby. I'm forgetting the other girl's name at the moment, but they were in our classes as well. Audrey Whitby, who's always on Disney and Nickelodeon, she was one of the students in class as well. So it's amazing because now we have students that are auditioning to be on their show, and these are former students. So,
and you're seeing them branch out and everything too, so that probably makes you an extremely happy teacher, because they learn from you.
We get to be a part of their lives at this point in their journey, and that's really an honor. And I really mean that. Just to be we get to be involved with so many fantastic and talented kids from around the country, around the world, teens and young adults, and it's great. It's just, I'm really happy that along with my amazing associates, Jafet Gordon, Shane Brady, Gloria Garayua, and Emily Reese and Paige Hullett, who I think you're going to be talking to at some point.
Yes. We
have a great staff, and it's working actors who care deeply about the craft and also, the kids in the school. We try not to be too big. We try to be more like a family because we can actually have hopefully some influence on their craft and hopefully on their lives, a positive influence on their lives.
If you can name what the age range for your classes are, like what does it start at and go up to for other people interested?
Thank you. We'll have we have classes for kids from 5 to 8 years old. So, these kids are pretty amazing. They'll let their parents know that they're interested in doing this at a very young age. So, online or in town in Los Angeles or on the road when I travel or when my associate travels, we will meet them. We also have, from 9 to 13 is another group, and then 14 to 20. And primarily my adult classes are in Dallas or Cleveland or Miami at the moment. Just depends where we're sort of building things. And then online. And that's how people can find me. And if they go to johndaquino.net, they'll see our classes. And right now, at this time when most people are kind of stuck in their houses, it might be a really good time to check out some classes with us. If you want to reach out to me, you can write to info@johndaquino.net or go to the website and you can send a message. When you register on our site, you get one free class. So you can try it out.
Okay. Is it an hour? Like, how long is the class? Is it like 20 minutes?
No. The classes can be anywhere from 90 minutes to 3 hours. Like my Tuesday class that's rocking right now. There's a lot of people in that class, but that's going to go until 6 p.m. Pacific time. It just kind of depends. That's a big age group for us. So we needed a class that goes a little bit longer on Tuesdays for them.
Oh, definitely.
Sorry?
Oh, no, I said, definitely. Agreeing with you.
I teach Mondays and Thursdays myself from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 to 9 on the East Coast. And you can go to johndaquino.net and register, get a free class, and come check us out on that. Our biggest events of the year, we just did 2 of them, in January and February. Mm-hmm. And that an audition prep, we call it pilot prep, as in pilot season casting.
Yep, for everybody that's interested, especially Paige. She was telling me that too.
That's a great event. That's a quick 3 days in LA and out. We do it over Martin Luther King weekend, so it's a holiday weekend, and then President's weekend in February. And on the third day, we have industry guests come in to give feedback immediately to the talent. So as soon as they get done with their audition, they meet our family of industry guests, and they are, they're always so generous with their comments and thoughts. And a lot of kids have found their representation that way. In the summertime, we will do our 2 camps, Camp Hollywood, which is the camp where you will make a movie from A to Z. You'll get an IMDb credit at the end because it's an original short.
Okay.
You'll get your demo reel footage, and you'll have the experience of your life. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds like so much fun. I wish I lived in California.
Really. And you have sizzle reels to show people if they're interested, if they want to go to johndaquino.net. We were actually almost sold out 2 weeks ago. So
from your class?
We'll see how no, on the summer camp.
Oh, okay. I was going to say for your classes, for everyone that's tuning in, I know prices are also range on the website, but what do they start at, like depending on the class? Or
so the classes are retail $70 per class, but typically our clients don't pay that much because they're normally buying a package, like a package of 13 or a package of 26.
Got it.
Right now during this crazy time, if you have some listeners who would like to try out a class with the registration, they can get a free class. But if they mention the DJ DANI show, we'll throw in an extra free class so they can maybe try a second class, and hopefully we can put a smile on their face and maybe inspire them during this cuckoo time.
That's awesome. I wonder if Ashley might be interested, who just called in.
Well, yeah, it sounds like
she
would
probably would love to have you as your teacher. 2 classes, but it's a start and everything. So at this time right now, because we're getting close to the end of the show shortly, this would be the time where you give out all your social media, so where people can find you and anything latest you'd like to promote. So I know you have some classes coming up, so if you want to mention that too, by all means.
Well, lots of things to mention, but if you go to the homepage at johndaquino.net, you'll see that we have classes online on Mondays through Saturdays, every day of the week at this point. For those who, let's see, let me get to this. Facebook, I'm at John DeAquino Young Actors Workshops, at John DeAquino's Young Actors Workshops. Twitter, we are at John DeAquino YAW. Instagram at John DeAquino's. I'm sorry, that is a plural. The Twitter and the Instagram are at John DeAquino's YAW, which means Young Actors Workshops.
Y'all. Mm-hmm.
And y'all. And then our website is johndaquino.net, JOHNDAQUINO.net. And you can see our Camp Hollywood videos there and other things. We're also, for those who, at the end, we're going to be doing a camp demo reel. So it's a smaller camp that will follow Camp Hollywood. It's on the homepage. Mm-hmm. And that's, you can go in for 6 days. We will have our classes, and then we will shoot a comedy scene and a dramatic scene so people can have them for their demo reels.
Sounds like so much fun.
Come on out, girl. Come on out.
Well, thank you again so much for being on my show, giving me your time in the quarantine situation we're dealing with right now. I really had a blast talking to you. I'm thankful we had Ashley call in. Again, I did not know that she's an actor, and that's pretty nice as you get to combine and collide with all these different actors and actresses that you star with or you get to meet. Before you go, John, I was wondering if you can give me a radio promo tag.
Yeah, I think I can. My name, and I'm on the DJ DANI show.
Perfect. Or you can also mention a certain character of one of the roles that you played. Whatever works for yourself.
Got it.
And then the second one would be on Hamilton Radio. So 2 separate ones.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
See if I can remember this. Hi, everybody. It's John DeAquino from CORY in the House, the President of the United States. And here I am today on the DJ DANI show, so tune in. And I'm going to give you one more.
Yes, please.
Hi, everybody. This is John DeAquino from CORY in the House, the President of the United States. And you are listening to Hamilton Radio.
Perfect. Thank you again so much. Real quick, Gino, Doc G, any last minute questions, comments you want to say to John? Okay, he's going to come out to say hi. All right, come here. He's going to come over here to actually say hi to you.
I don't actually look the best, John, but I'm coming to say hi. Can you see me?
I can see you.
I can see you, brother. I can see you.
Old guy here, right? No, it was a pleasure, John, having you, and thank you for coming. And, you know, my daughter, you know, she's I think she's amazing, but that's me, a dad saying that, you know. But she's building up her broadcasting experience, and thank you for that, too. And thank you for our talk earlier.
Yeah, my pleasure. And, of course, I'm very proud of her for doing that as well, because it's very brave to do what she's doing.
At a young age.
I totally agree, but that's, you know, I told her this is where you learn. This is, you know, the hands-on thing, what you need to do. So
exactly. Cut your teeth. So nice to meet you, Gino.
Pleasure.
Pleasure.
Yeah. DANI, all the very best to you, honey.
Thank you, John. I will stay in touch with you for everything.
Okay.
Reach out to me when you have something new to promote as well, so I can help you.
You got it, honey. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Wow.
Smoke and Bacon Community Act, a community-based social media platform with over 20 different unique communities and growing. Designed as an alternate social media platform for people who question the status quo, both those who are curious and those who ask WTF. You know what that means. Tired of being in Facebook jail? Is your content too edgy, raw, or free thinking? Well, we developed the Smoke and Bacon to be the platform for free thinkers and rebels to share what they want. Additional community activities include social contests and giveaways, daily and nightly exciting live streams, new engaging communities launching monthly, social media the way you want it. Available now in the Apple and Google Play stores. Join us today.